Hey guys, it's Lauren from Granite State Yarns. Today we're going to do a come spin with me. I have about an ounce of fiber from woolfiend.com. This was part of a 12-day advent. And this is, I believe, my day 7. So the first thing I do is split my ounce of fiber here in half. And that way I will have an equal amount of fiber for my 2-ply yarn that I'm planning on making. So I take the first half and split it down into about, I think I'm going to do 5 different sections here. And it's just a little bit easier to spin with a smaller bit of wool. I'm still a brand new spinner. I got this Shacked Ladybug back in the fall and have only had a little bit of experience here. So if you are a more experienced spinner, you will probably see a million mistakes that I make. But this is what I am currently doing for spinning. So this is not a tutorial. This is just how I am currently spinning. And I think it will be kind of fun to show a new spinner learning to spin, and maybe to go back eventually as I get better and see how I have changed. So there is a little bit of yarn already on my spindle, and that's what I use to get things started. So there's a little loop and I get my fiber started on there. It's a little bit fussy at first. Again, this isn't a tutorial, so I'm not going to get into major details here, but you can kind of at least get an idea of what's going on. I'm adjusting the tension a little bit just to get this to a place where it's pulling the wool enough that it's going to get onto that spindle, but not so much that it's just going to rip right out of my hands. And I'm still struggling a little bit. It's always a little hard right at the beginning to get things going. Still fussing a little bit, but I think I'm just about getting going here with a little bit of some rhythm. There we go. Don't worry, I will have some close-ups of each of the little bits in a little while. But yeah, looks like I am currently on a roll here. Okay, I'm going to speed up things a little bit here. That way we're not here all day watching boring me just move my hands ever so slightly. But you can see I'm just drafting out a little bit of wool at a time. Okay, now we're going to change things up a little bit, and I'm going to show you a close-up so maybe we can see a little bit more of how this works. So you can see the yarn that I'm currently spinning, or at least the single that I'm currently spinning, is all accumulating at one end of the spindle. And this is a pretty good view where you can see that I am holding my wool with my left hand, and then I am pinching with my right hand. So the spin is going into the yarn, and I am just kind of keeping my thumb and index finger pinching on the very edge of that draft, just to keep the spin from moving way down into the draft and then picking up too much wool at a time. And this is how I keep a even amount of fiber getting into my single at a time. So this is a double treadle spinning wheel, which means I am using both of my feet to treadle and make the wheel spin. Now I'm going to pause for a moment and just adjust where the single will accumulate. So you can see I just kind of moved the newly made yarn down to the hook just below where it was being held before, and now it's all starting to accumulate just a little bit below where the first section was. And this allows everything to very neatly accumulate so we don't get any knots or tangles. Alright, and again I'm going to speed things up a little bit. You just kind of get into a rhythm here and spin, spin, spin. I'm just adjusting myself. I think I was starting to slide down my chair ever so slightly. This is such a relaxing project to work on. Okay, I'm going to slow things down again. And I finished up the first little section of wool. So now I'm going to add in, if you look to the left here, I'm adding in a new little section of wool to what I currently had spun. Like I said, I believe I split this into 5 different little sections, and so I'll have to do this a few times. And just by carefully putting it on, I have now just lengthened that little single there, and I'm back to spinning just the way I had it before. It's actually pretty simple to do. Alright, back to speeding things up a little bit. Looks like I will probably be needing to, there we go. Okay, as you can see once again, I am moving my single down. And adding another piece of wool. That one must have been pretty skinny. Got through it pretty quickly. And there we go, back to spinning. Move my hands a little closer here so that way they'd be on the recording a little better. Gotta love these colors too, they're so soothing. Definitely just what I like, these blues and greens. I believe we were watching television at the time here. This is nice, the spinning wheel itself is rather quiet, so I can just sit here and do some work without really disrupting anybody in the house. Alright, got a little bit of a close-up of the flyer here. And the flyer is that kind of U-shaped piece, which right now is a big blur, but it's the U-shaped piece that has those little hooks on it that guide the single, or in this case singles, onto the spindle. So you can see a black band on the right side, and that moved things around a little bit again. All right, so again, you can see that black band, which is connected to the red wheel, and that is what I am spinning with my feet on those treadles, that red wheel. And then that's turning moves into the gearing up on top there, and that's what spins everything. That's what's spinning the yarn. Again, this is not a huge, really fancy super tutorial on how to spin yarn. This is just kind of a little look into what I'm doing. I still have a whole lot to learn. I don't know the names of all of these pieces. I don't know what all of them do. I am still super new at this. I'm actually taking a class this March, so hopefully I will learn a little bit more and will be able to teach a little bit more, do a little more justice to this kind of video. But I figured it was still worth a try to record a little bit of this today. My apologies if it's not perfect. Actually, I know it's not perfect, but it should still be a little fun. All right, now I've got another view here of what my hands are doing. And so you can see that nice fiber. It's got a little bit of a twist to it. I'm just untwisting it. And again, here are my, on my right hand, my thumb and forefinger are pinching the yarn, and that's stopping that twist, which is in the single, stopping the twist from moving down into that loose fiber, because I want to be able to control it. So I just kind of loosen up with my thumb ever so slightly so I can slide down, and as I slide down, a little more of that twist moves down into the unspun fiber. And once I slide down, I pinch again, and I use my thumb and forefinger to pull up to draft some of that wool, some of the fiber, so that way it'll be ready to be spun. This is the technique that I've kind of developed. I don't know if this is official 100% fantastic spinning. I mean, it's definitely spinning, but I don't know if there's possibly a better way to do it, but this is how it's working for me, and I'm able to get a pretty consistent size single here, so I think it's all right. Now I've kind of I've reached the end of that bit, and now I'm going to add on another section of wool. This is how I do it. You can see that I have, first I'm going to pull out a little bit of fiber there so I can mix some of the old fiber in with the new fiber. And I want to again try to maintain a consistent diameter. So I just go a little bit at a time. And there we go. Back to spinning. It definitely goes a lot better with these skinny little bits of unspun fiber. Before, when I first learned how to spin, I was using like that full diameter, and it was a little tricky to deal with. And then I read in Yarnitecture by Jillian Moreno. I read that book, or have read bits and pieces from that book, and one of her suggestions was to pull out little bits here that are about the diameter of your finger, and it really does make a difference. Again, it's just such a relaxing project to work on. Very much enjoy spinning. You can see why so many people get so excited about it and why so many people love it. It really is just a nice way to spend an afternoon. Okay, so I haven't recorded everything, but I did finish up with that first half of my fiber, and I'm now working on a second spindle so I can have a 2 2-ply yarn. So that first spindle spun the first single, so that way I will have one of 2 plies. Now here I am working on my second ply. So once again, I started off accumulating all of my single at one end, and now I'm going to move down. I actually recorded this fast, so I can't slow it down at all. But it's actually kind of fun to watch this at this really quick speed, because you can really see how the single just accumulates in these little sections. If I remember correctly, my son at some point shows up here in the video, so keep an eye out for him. Once again, move down to the third hook. There it goes. Yeah, I recorded this, I believe, at the end of January, so it's been a little while. So I'm watching along with all of you here as I voice over. Move down again. Oh, yep, there's one of the kids. So the method that I've developed for filling up my spindle is to start on one side of those hooks and move down incrementally until I get to the bottom. And then now here I'm on the bottom hook on the right side. And so the next time I make an adjustment, I will move over to the left hook and then move up. And that seems to work out pretty well to evenly distribute everything, so that way it's all nice and organized on that spindle without getting tangled. There is something just so satisfying about watching the spindles fill up. Wow. Okay, now I have both of my singles spun up, and I'm going to attach them to the Lazy Kate that I have. On this Shacked Ladybug, you can buy a Lazy Kate that attaches right to the spinning wheel. And so there's a little bit of gearing on there to keep both singles spinning at the same time. It also keeps them from spinning too quickly. At least that's what I've noticed again. I would love to learn a little bit more about this wheel and be able to explain how these things work better, but for now that's what I'm noticing. And so I have a third clean spindle all ready to go. And there's my yarn that I already have on there. I hope this focuses better. It's right now it's a little bit out of focus. But you can still see generally what's going on. So I took my orifice hook to get that yarn through the orifice to get ready to spin, and now I've got the 2 singles that I'm going to just kind of twist into that loop of yarn, and that way I can get started on spinning here. And so I spun my first set of singles, or the 2 singles in the same direction. If I remember correctly, they are Z, which if you look closely at the twist, you'll see it kind of makes the letter Z. And now to do the actual yarn, I'm going to spin in the opposite direction. So this has an S spin. I should go double check that to make sure that I'm telling you it the right way. Pretty sure that's what it is though. Yes, the single is a Z twist and the 2-ply yarn is an S twist in this example. You can do either way. I don't know if there's a standard for it, but that's what I do so I don't confuse myself. And so you can see that yarn is starting to form right there before your eyes. I wish this was focused better, but what are you gonna do now? So here's a close-up of that yarn accumulating on the spindle. Again, sadly, we are out of focus here. But, you know, all that background junk is in focus, so lucky you to be able to see the background toys and bins and whatnot in my house, all nice and clear. There we go. Oh, this looks much better now. Okay. So I hold, at least in this case, I'm still kind of working out a system here, but what I do is with my right hand, I'm pulling the singles off of those, the spindles on the Lazy Kate, and then I have one of the singles going over my right index finger and one going under my right index finger. That way I can kind of push with my thumb and my middle finger to keep some tension on the singles to make sure that they are both leading into that yarn with at about the same speed and at about the same tension. And the system seems to work okay. I'm still kind of figuring out what I like to do. I'm not sure if I have done it this way every time. In fact, I know I haven't, but I couldn't really tell you what I've done before because I don't really remember. And just like with the singles, I have to take those, take the yarn and move it down on the hooks so that way they can accumulate nice and even. The same system, just spinning in a different direction. Well, it looks like I've got some technical challenges with the camera here. Oh, focus, focus. Oh, there we go. Kind of in focus. Oh, it was in focus, and now it's back to focusing on the background. Professional YouTuber here. And I definitely had some twisting craziness. Things are, oh dear, we have a mess here. So I'm trying to looks like they fell off, so the yarn fell off the hook. Oh, here's where my son shows up. Oh, there's Daddy walking by. Looks like I've got everything under control again. And back to spinning yarn. So at the moment, I'm currently going by looking at those twists and just visually seeing that that looks like a pleasing yarn to me and that we have enough twist in there for what I'm going for, but not too much twist that it's gonna be too highly spun. The first time that I plied yarn, or one of the first times that I plied yarn, the yarn that I ended up finishing was way overspun, and it was just so tangled up on itself. There's Thomas playing in the background. But I was actually able to run that through my spinning wheel again and kind of took some of that twist out. And the yarn itself is still a little overspun, but I think it might make a good pair of socks because it is going to have so much strength there. But for this yarn, I'm hoping to knit up a shawl with all of the different mini skeins that I'm making here for these 12 days of fiber. And so I want my yarn to be nice and soft. Definitely don't need it to be really highly spun. I just want it to have a little bit of strength, but still be pleasant to touch and to have around my neck if I'm going to be using it as a shawl. Okay, and that is just about the end here of this little mini of yarn. I now will take the yarn that I have spun and twist it onto my Niddy Noddy, which you can see here. I didn't record the actual Niddy Noddy process, but you can see it here anyway. And so that makes a really big 5-foot loop of yarn, which I'm then able to twist up into this pretty little hank right here. And so that's it. So thank you so much for watching this little dive into my spinning process. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, I will definitely take you along on another adventure as I become more adept and knowledgeable at spinning. But for now, that was a little sneak peek at what a very beginner spinner is doing. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe, and we will catch you the next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.